Hi guys, and welcome back to the next episode of the Meant for More Mindset with me, Yar, and the lovely Dion.
Hi guys.
So today we're going to be focusing on this whole idea of guilt and how we feel guilty when we put ourselves first, but also why it's so important to put ourselves first. So I was about to say a few years back, but quite a number of years back now, I remember hearing Iyanla Vanzant have a quote, and she said she talked about the importance of being self-full. And at the time, I didn't really understand what it was. But then the way she explained it was, you fill up your cup, and what's in the cup is for you, and whatever overflows for other people. So you have to be self-full first, because if you're not, you actually aren't helping yourselves or anybody else. And the concept of that is I think it's a really powerful concept, and it's a good concept, but it's that whole idea of, if you are in this place of always wanting to be a help to others, how you don't perceive that as being selfish, putting yourself first, and why it's so important to understand that putting yourself first actually is self-full and not selfish. And especially for people who are caretakers, who are mothers, who are just nurturers, generally it can be really, really, really hard to do, because especially when it is a sense of your identity, of who you are. And so it's learning to basically get over the guilt of putting yourself first, and realizing and seeing there's a real beauty in it. So would you say you're someone who has I didn't even need to finish that.
Yeah, you didn't. I am one of these people. When I was younger, I used to always do things for other people rather than myself. So like, would go to parties, instead of me kind of enjoying the party, I would have to be behind the kitchen serving or doing something, feeling like I'm helping.
Yeah.
So like, as I've grown older, I realized I was doing that just to get validation, to be liked, and all of this. But then when I decided, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just going to go to a party, sit down. If they need help, they're going to ask me for help. I don't have to offer help to be liked. I can just go and be. And I remember the first party I went to, I was sitting down, like having to hold the chair, thinking, oh my gosh, like, what do I do with myself?
Yeah.
Looking at my phone, just trying to keep myself busy so that I didn't go into that natural habit of just doing. And I felt guilty. I felt like people were watching me, thinking, oh, she's lazy, she's this, she's that, she's that. But I had to quickly tell myself, no, just like everyone else is sitting down and not doing anything, you're doing the same thing. No one is actually thinking that of you. So you're allowed to sit here and be. But I remember that guilt that came over me when I was in that party, because it just felt like, what am I doing? Like, people are going to be judging me, and it's just going to be too much. And like, it's just going to seem like I'm not helpful. And it was like, okay, but why do you need to be helpful? Why do you need to be seen in this particular way, Dion? Everyone else is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So relax, enjoy the time, enjoy the party, be in the moment instead of trying to manipulate the moment.
Yeah. And I think that's the key there, manipulate the moment, because I think it's looking at for me anyway, looking at what I would have gotten out of it. So when you're helping people, it's that thing of, for me, was able to, like, say for instance, I didn't really want to engage with bigger groups of people for whatever reason. Maybe I was feeling off that day, so it would be easier just to be a helping hand rather than go and talk to people and make small talk. So if you're not somebody who really enjoys making small talk, that would be a great way to avoid it. So it's that thing of, oh, look at me, look at what I'm doing, kind of thing, and you get, quote unquote, seen again as the good person. And so it really, I think for me, overcoming it, the importance of overcoming it was that it's like you said, you are sitting there, even though you're sitting there with your everything clenched and wanting to do things do things the way you've always known to do things, you realize the importance of doing things differently, because this, even though this had once served me, it's not serving me now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not serving me now to when you're always tired all the time. It's not serving you when you feel like it's expected of you rather than it's something that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it it does become more of a hindrance rather than a help. And so you're tussling with this whole idea of resentment, because you want to be a help, but at the same time you resent that people just automatically assume that you're going to be a help. I remember I went to a friend's party once, and when I went to the party, I got there at the same time everybody else got there. And I remember her saying to me, "Oh, you didn't come early." And I was like, "Why would I come early?" And she was like, "Oh, I would have thought that you came early to help out." And I said, and I remember saying to her, "But you didn't ask me to come early." And then I realized that's how taken for granted I was being at the time. And the friend wasn't doing anything bad. It just was, it became a thing of where that was the expectation of me.
Mm.
And so it was learning not to resent that of myself, and also not resenting it of others, and really taking a step back. And also when you take a step back, you're able then to also, it's almost like the rose tinted glasses come off, but you see so much clearer.
Mm.
You're able to like do things that you weren't able to. You're able to rest. Not everything has to be like, I have to be involved in everything, doing everything at all times. It just becomes this thing of, well, I'm just going to rest, and I'm just going to do me, and really showing up as yourself and being yourself. And that's because that's what I realized, is that by being self-aware, that's what people get, and that's what people really want of you. They really want you. They don't want this image or perception of you that you told yourself is acceptable. And actually they just want to engage and be around you. And if you're funny, they see more of your funny side. If you're loving, they see more of your loving side. If you're engaging, you get to be even more engaged. So it's really letting go of this idea of who people perceive you as, and really embracing who you actually are. And somebody said it so wonderfully many years ago to me, it's who you be. It's just about being, really.
Yeah, and I think even sometimes it's just scary for people to be. I think that's why it's easier for people to be distracting people with what they're doing rather than who they are, because I know that I'm good at these things, so I can just continue doing these things. But me being with me, I realize I don't know much about myself. I realize I don't want to be by myself. So how do we get over that? How do we get over the sense of it's okay for me to not like where I am initially?
Yeah, I think it's just acceptance. It's accepting we are where we are, and it's going back to being like, who are you right now, and just accepting that and figuring out you don't know what you don't know. I think I think the beauty of being children is that when we're children, we recognize we don't know what we don't know, and there's an eagerness to learn and a willingness to learn as well. And so we naturally get good at things because we allow ourselves the space and time to do so. As adults, it's almost like if we don't have it straight away, then throw the whole thing away. So learning to be in a space of where we are okay with the not knowing, or growing into a certain space, it takes time, and just really being accepting of ourselves in that space and in that time of, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's okay that I don't know what I'm doing, and you don't need to know it straight away. And I was speaking to a friend about it the other day, and it's this, and we were talking about, because she's a coach too, and we were talking about being coaches, and how when you first start off being a coach, everybody's like, "Oh, I'm a coach, I know it all." And it's almost like, because you're doing all this learning, you've got it figured out, and you've got yourself figured out, but then something happens, life happens. And as you live life, you realize yes, this is a part of it. And yes, you being coached now means that you're more self-aware and aware of what other people can be going through, but I am still me
Yeah.
living life. And so it's who am I in this moment, and being okay with who I am in this moment. Like I've said before, I go to a fitness dance class now. In my mind, I am doing what my instructor's doing because he's an amazing dancer. But when I see myself in the mirror, I am not doing what my dance instructor is doing. And that's okay, because that's the whole point. I'm still showing up. And that's what I think is the most important thing, is you show up, and you continue to show up, and you allow yourself to get it wrong, because that's the whole point of learning, and to not beat yourself up about it. And I think the reason why so many people do is because we're not able to distinguish the difference of our behavior with who we are. You know, I did a bad thing or I got something wrong doesn't mean I am a bad person or I am wrong. So
yeah, and that's all stems from shame, though. So I think the reason why we don't like being on our own is because there's usually a sense of shame around who we are, and maybe just accepting that shame in itself is the beginning, because then you know, actually, everyone else lives with shame, and shame is something that is kind of put on you because it's what other people, it's an external force kind of thing. It's an external expectation of you that you haven't met, that you have internalized. So learning to understand that just because you didn't do something doesn't mean that you are that mistake. It's that was a mistake, and that is not who I am. And learning to separate the two kind of helps you build that resilience and helps you build the understanding of yourself, to know that actually I'm still learning, I'm still human. I'm allowed to be this person, I'm allowed to present this way, and I can only learn from what I've done, and move forward from it, and knowing that you're continually building on that. And when you get to that place, I think it's so much easier for you to accept that you're allowed to do these things, and you're allowed to just be in places. So the guilt slowly fades away, because the shame is no longer there. You've understood that shame in a context, and you've contextualized it, rather than holding on to it and allowing it to control your life. You're actually putting a narrative to it that is helpful and useful for you.
I think so. And I think that with this whole idea of shame, it's like you said, it's external forces but then what happens is that you then internalize that external force. So it's learning that as a whole person, I am wholly good, I'm wholly bad, I'm wholly, but you're not, but that doesn't sum you up as who you are. And it's learning not to, and I think as well, what makes us feel guilty is learning to identify with certain things that we're not, because that's what we've been told that we are. And it's just really identifying with how you want to show up, and who you want to be in that given moment. And for me, I think the most important thing for me in terms of who I want to be at this point in my life is that somebody who helps others be whoever it is that they want to be, but doing that through compassion and with love. So because I think what guilt also makes you do is it makes you very judgmental of others. And so it's by learning to give grace and compassion to myself, i.e. letting go of the guilt, that I'm able then to be able to do the same for others. So it's that thing of where, for example, a friend the other day asked me for help. I gave them the help. They didn't take on board any of the advice that I'd given them. In my eyes, they didn't anyway. And so before, what I would do is I would judge them. severely for it. Whereas now, I just lead with grace and compassion. Excuse me. I just lead with grace and compassion, and leading with grace and compassion means that I just understand that they asked for my advice. They've decided not to take my advice, and that's okay. I still love them. I still care about them anyway. And in being able to give that to them, it makes me feel better about who I am and myself, as opposed to there being something wrong with them or with me or with anybody. And I think that's what it boils down to when it comes to feeling guilty. It's about learning to accept and embrace who you are, and leading with grace and compassion in a way that allows those around you to feel that grace and compassion, so that they can show up as themselves as also. And that's how you're building the relationship with yourself, and then also the relationship with the people around you in all types of relationships. So yeah, so we're going to end this one here, guys. But we're going to be talking about how guilt shows up in relationships in our next episode on Love Learns. So we shall see you there. So head over to Love Learns. Please don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe this video, and subscribe to this channel. I was about to say subscribe to this video. But yeah, subscribe, and yeah, we shall see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. For more about me, what I do, check out my website, nextlevelcoachinggroup.com, where you can also download my free Release Your Mindset Blocks guide. You can also follow me on Instagram at Next Level Coaching Group, or on Facebook at Next Level Lounge. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a rating and review. Thanks. See you on the next one.